Hi, everyone. It's Joe Veneri, the host of Fit Insider, the show where I talk with the entrepreneurs, executives, and investors who are redefining the business of fitness and wellness. This week, we're excited to bring you another edition of Startup Spotlight, a recurring series where we speak with early-stage founders working on fitness and wellness startups. We usually focus on established companies, operators, and investors, and we'll continue to bring you those conversations most weeks. But from time to time, we're highlighting companies at the beginning of their journey. Today, I'm joined by Wilfred Valenta, CEO of Silofit. Silofit is a network of private, on-demand fitness spaces. In this episode, we discuss innovative approaches to brick-and-mortar fitness. Wilfred shares his vision for a decentralized gym spanning real estate, software, and services. And we talk about why the company is focused on helping fitness professionals grow their business. A quick reminder before we get into today's show. Every Tuesday, we send a weekly newsletter filled with insights and analysis on the business of fitness and wellness. Join other decision makers and industry operators by subscribing at insider.fit.co. Let's get into it. Hi, Wilfred. Welcome to Fit Insider. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Joe. Thanks so much for having me. Very excited to be on here today.
Likewise, looking forward to the conversation. Certainly a lot to talk about, but to set the scene, can you tell listeners more about yourself and Silofit?
Yeah. My name is Wilfred Valenta, CEO of Silofit. And essentially, Silofit is building a platform for fitness and wellness professionals to run their entire digital and physical business from end to end. And we're doing that through providing space micro gyms on the real estate side, an app to run their business on the digital side, and also certification, insurance, and other services that are all going to be layered on top to create this ecosystem for professionals in 2021 moving forward.
Yeah, and a lot of exciting stuff there, I think, especially as the tides are kind of changing in the fitness industry. And I want to unpack some of that, but maybe a little bit more context in terms of where the business stands now, how long you guys been around, number of employees, funding, and maybe anything that makes sense to the overall conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we've been around for 2 years, although it feels a lot longer than that, because as you know, when you start with an idea from inception to write it, literally writing it down on the back of a napkin to getting it off the ground and all that takes a lot longer. But we're in the thick of it now, really accelerating the business, given the market environment that's quite favorable for us. And we're growing the team aggressively. So we're now 35 employees. We're about 27 full-time, the rest part-time in Montreal and Toronto, and starting to create that distributed team also into the US. We hired actually a majority of our team members during COVID. So that's always a little bit interesting when you've never met someone face-to-face per se. And we've raised about $4.7 million to date from excellent investors, including Whitecap Partners, who's been with us since the beginning, Courtside Ventures, Alate Partners, and also professional football player Ndamukong Suh.
Yeah, a great group, and all that coming together. Thinking about this idea of the micro gym, now it kind of gets tossed around in this conversation about hybrid and omni-channel and what that looks like. But like you said, this was certainly pre-COVID that you guys had started and were already working on scaling this business. So how did that idea originally come up? And then what was the jumping off point to yes, this could be a venture scale business. We want to bring on investors to grow.
So in terms of, starting this business and really thinking about it from a venture perspective, I just want to note that really I'm an entrepreneur through and through. So I'm always thinking about ideas. And in reality, I always want to do a scalable business. So, the way I look at ideas, and I always have them muddled in my mind, is I'm thinking about, what has the greatest chance of success in terms of scaling and being a venture-backed company. So I look at what I like to call my idea funnel. And that's from looking at big trends on a macro basis to, a few of the other startups and what's similar. So could this be the X of Y, And at the time when I was thinking about Silofit, I was actually working on a few other ideas, although they sound a little ridiculous today. One of them was cardboard furniture and another one I can't even remember. But, I was really glad I stuck with Silofit. But the impetus of the idea was essentially out of pure need on my end. At the time, I was working in tech and sales and traveling a lot for business. And I was really looking for a flexible on-demand gym option. And that didn't really exist where I am or where I was at the time, which is in Montreal. So I decided, why not build my own micro gym that I could book on demand by the hour for myself to work out whenever I want without having to pay a membership or being tied down. And so as that idea developed, I started to talk to gym owners and fitness trainers. And I realized by focusing on this problem or building this type of micro gym, which we define as a gym that's 500 to 1,000 square feet, we were solving a much bigger issue, which is that we can start offering space at a much favorable rate versus what gyms were charging. So in other words, most gyms take a 60 to 70% cut of a trainer's profits, which is a huge pain. So we thought, what if we chose unused office space and converted that into a micro gym and could offer that space at a significantly lower price? So our spaces allow trainers at the price point that we offer, it allows them to save about 40% more on their bottom line, which is really the value prop towards those trainers.
Yeah. And that's definitely something there is this like obvious idea. And I think everybody who travels has run into it. It's like, is there a gym at the hotel? Do they have some relationship with a nearby a gym location that I can go to? If not, I'm kind of stuck. So there's like the consumer who wants to work out anywhere and not be tied down. And then there's the trainer who either, and I've done this personally, right? So it's like you're training people in a park, in some outdoor location, you're training them at their home, or you're training at a physical location where the economics aren't super favorable to you. So how did you come up with the business model, and now you start to explain the value proposition to these different stakeholders?
So that was really the starting point for the trainer. It was really looking at that market and understanding the huge value prop and opportunity that we had. So we knew that if we could focus on the trainer, that was really our acquisition strategy. Because for every trainer, they'll on average have about 10 clients, right? So as you bring that trainer on board, you'll be able to start increasing your funnel of both clients and trainers at the same time. So on the value side, obviously the trainer now can save 40% on their bottom line. That means that now they can also offer their sessions potentially slightly cheaper to the user, which is a benefit to them. And then on the flip side, the user now has an on-demand and pay-per-use option too. So the value prop is really for the user, the flexibility that we offer, along with the privacy of these micro gyms. Because when you book our spaces, they're by the hour, there's no membership, it's on demand, and you get a unique PIN code. So it's super simple. You just go on our app, you book the space for an hour, you get that code, and then it's really your space. You can go there alone with a friend, or you can also go with a trainer. And likewise, the trainer can book the space and bring their clients too, and it's their unique private setting. So because we provide that unique privacy along with like a high-end experience of nice equipment and so on, the consumer gets a better experience versus going to the gym where they need to share a bunch of equipment during their session. And then on the flip side, the trainer gets to seem like they're offering a more premium experience because they have their own little private studio for the hour. And on top of that, they're making more money. So it's truly a win-win for both the consumer and also the personal trainer or fitness professional.
Sure. Yeah. Super smart. And I think playing into the benefit of the fitness professional is really unique across the board. When you think about, scaling the business model, the number of locations, if you're going by, obviously say it's an hour session or maybe 2 hours, or a half hour, like there's a limited number of people if only consumers are coming in and renting it by the half hour, by the hour. So is the idea that you really need to target fitness professionals to take a cut of what they're charging their members versus relying on, one individual to come through X number of times a day?
I think that's a great point, Joe. I think what distinguishes Silofit versus the standard gym is we're not trying to take a cut. The whole premise of our business is how do we build that platform to support the professional in their life cycle from beginner to intermediate to professional to influencer. So we really want to build a platform to help them grow and build their business as opposed to gouging them, which is what you'll typically see at gyms, and think about how big of a cut we try to take from this person who's actually, training our customers or building the value within the business. So we're never really going to look to take a cut from the trainer. What we're going to do instead, which is the next leg of the business after our micro gyms, in which we're starting to build out, is the software component. How do we help that trainer run their business and also sell content to their customers? So this is the software component. So we're launching what's called Silofit Pro. So we now will have 2 apps in our belt, where there's Silofit and Silofit Pro. Silofit Pro, you could think of it like the Uber driver app, where the trainer now has an app to run their scheduling, payment processing, CRM, and they can also use that app to create digital content that they can sell to their customers. So say, for example, Joe, you create a workout program for your client, you'll be able to sell that through our ecosystem. And that's where, yes, we'll be taking a small rake off of that. But at the same time, we're looking to build so much value for the trainer that, working with us is a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And like you said, focusing on the trainer in a way that drives value for them to almost make it, they can't not work with you in some extent when they're trying to build this hybrid business of their own. When you think about the economics and how trainers are finding you, what does that acquisition strategy look like from you, whether it's reaching out to them, targeting ads, scaling up a sales team? Where are you guys in that process?
So we've been really blessed, to be quite honest. To date, 100% of our business has been essentially word of mouth. We've spent $0 on direct advertising to trainers. So we've been quite fortunate. Moving forward, as we scale the business, it's only realistic to essentially start advertising online and also trying to do a more direct approach. But in reality, the viral loop of this product has been incredibly interesting. So say, for example, we launch a space, a new location or a new city. We launched in Toronto mid last year. Our strategy was essentially to target, say, 5 influencer trainers. And we told them, hey, come try out our gym, post about it. If you like it, we'll give you a few free hours. And that's essentially what we did. From those 5 trainers, they essentially posted about us. We got so much buzz out of it. Other trainers started to go to the space. And then they started to post about it on Instagram. And it essentially happened where the more people went, the more they posted, and we essentially got fully booked with their customers and the trainers themselves.
Sure. And have you gotten to the point, I know you're kind of working on launching this software component, to think through and then nail down what some of the economics are of this? Are they paying a monthly subscription? What is that take rate, the percentage of maybe their revenue? And is it required of them that they also, use the studios, the micro gyms themselves, or is it totally independent of that physical location?
Great question. So it's going to be totally independent of whether or not they use the space. What we're looking to do is where we offer a subscription model to the trainer. So let's walk through that life cycle, right? So if you're a trainer starting out, you probably have 1 to 3 clients. You really just need a space. And your option is either work at a gym and they take a huge cut, or you could try to do it online, but there's less stickiness there because you're not really building, it's harder to build that relationship. So that's why you'd come to Silofit. You start booking on demand with your clients, say 1 to 3 times a week. Then once you start increasing your business, what you say is, well, I really want some lead gen. So what you would do is you'd sign up with us for our Silofit Pro package. And what we would do is we'd start advertising your profile in our app. So all of a sudden you're getting lead gen and exposure in the platform. And then once clients start booking, you start increasing that business and you're paying $99 a month for these services. Then after that, once you've built your physical training business, you'd go from being an intermediate trainer to a professional trainer. And that's where you're doing 60 hours a week in physical training. And now you need to start building your digital business because you want to start making more money. So once you're in that professional bucket, what we'll do is we'll work with you for about $199 a month, and we'll help build out your workout programs and sell them through the platform. And suddenly we've 10x'd your revenues because you're selling your digital content to our 10,000 users on the platform, right? And that could be our 10,000 users on our platform, or it could be also people who just want to buy your workout program through the app as well, right? And then finally, we're also going to be working on helping you evolve into the influencer category or life cycle, where we would help you develop your influencer status, your business, work with our partner brands as well. So that's essentially those different buckets in the life cycle of a trainer, and essentially an example of the different subscription models that we'd offer in return for all the value that we're giving them.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how it plays out, right? Because as the omni-channel and hybrid, concept evolves, there's folks who are digital figuring out how to back into the physical. There are folks that are brick and mortar first trying to figure out how they scale the digital. You're kind of like at a unique inflection point where, the footprint of the locations can scale, and in a sense, it's one business, but this digital component, you can also tackle that in a way that makes it, a flywheel almost to those locations. Zooming out a little bit, one thing I wanted to get your sense of, the obvious kind of elephant in the room is that, COVID, how the pandemic has changed kind of what the fitness industry is doing, really what the world is doing in some ways. How does your concept of what the business was, early on, even early 2020 versus what it is now and how the pandemic has impacted all of that?
So, I often say that COVID wasn't really didn't really change the market. It just accelerated the change that was already happening, right? Like, mid-market gyms have been disappearing for a while. What we've been seeing is where there's very people have been wanting high-end gyms like the Equinoxes of the world, where, you get an experience with your Kiehl's lotion and the nice vibe and music. And then there's also your $10 a month gyms where people are looking for that flexibility, right? So that's been a huge trend going on for a long time. And that's why you're seeing a third of the gyms closing because of COVID, because most of those mid-market gym models were unsustainable anyways, right? So what's really beautiful about Silofit is that it fits in between those two things. It provides a high-end experience and that flexibility. And that's why I think we're perfectly positioned to take advantage of this new type of mid-market, which is coinciding with hybrid fitness, where now with COVID, essentially you're seeing a hybrid model where people are going to be working out 40% of the time at home digitally, and then 60% of the time doing drop-in one-offs with either personal trainers or classes. And that's where, Silofit physical fits in as well. So prior to the pandemic, our strategy was really just to focus on the brick and mortar. We started to work on the digital side even before COVID hit. But I think that now that COVID has accelerated, our plans to really focus on this omni-channel execution model has gone even further, because we want to be able to tap into people working out from home, having fitness programs that they can do at home or in our spaces. In addition to that, private space during a pandemic has become a luxury, right? So we've had immense demand. And I think coming out of this, we're going to continue to see that demand, because I think people's habits have changed. It takes 30 days for someone to develop a habit. I think most people have changed that habit. And you're starting to see on the numbers where 60% of people have canceled or plan to cancel their gym membership. So coming out, this is going to be very interesting. I don't think gyms are going away. I think that brick and mortar is here to stay. I think it's going to be just the consumption patterns of the consumer will be very different.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's a matter of finding out, what is that value proposition and then getting aligned, right? Even the idea of paying for a membership that you don't use, fundamentally, that's not in the best interest of the consumer. Whereas in this case, the ability to do on demand says, hey, when you need it, you use it. And from the trainer's perspective, one thing that I think is unique is, catering to this individual professional who has driven a disproportionate amount of value in terms of what the gym is able to offer, but has been kind of cut out of some of the upside of it in the long term. Another piece that you mentioned that I thought was interesting, wanted to touch on, was beyond the software, beyond the physical location, the idea of certifications and insurance. Can you just walk us through how you're thinking about that and maybe what we could expect to see?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the third leg of our business. So what's interesting is we're starting to develop a new concept called Silo Hub. So Silo Hub is a space in the center of every city. So you could almost think of our model like a hub and spoke model, where the client will meet the trainer for their initial consultation at our Silo Hub, which contains a consultation space with an in-body machine. So they do a full health analysis with their client. And that allows them to start tracking their goals, their weight and so on, and all these different metrics that they can use to understand their level of success, right? And that's a pretty expensive piece of equipment that isn't available in all studios. But once you start that journey with your trainer in that center location, then you'd go to our spokes, which is our silos and our micro gyms, and start that journey. And then you'd return back to the hub to see your results. So that's the first part, is we offer these services to trainers and our users to be able to monitor their progress and go to our service center called Silo Hub. And then in addition to that, that space is also used to support the education that we offer to trainers. We're going to be launching that later on this year, a whole education program where you're going to be able to be Silofit certified levels 1, 2, and 3. And then in addition to that, there will be a certification that can be applied to the accreditations that are equivalent in the US. And also we'll be providing insurance to trainers too. It's amazing how many trainers don't have insurance when it's such a necessity. And I think that comes in part with the fact that there's a lack of education in the industry, which is really, really necessary. And so, zooming out from this, if you look at these 3 pillars of the business, which is the real estate, our micro gyms, the software, which is our pro app, and our services, which is supported by our hub and certification insurance, you could almost look at this model as a decentralized gym model that's way more efficient than your standard gym, because we've selected the right real estate that allows us to help the trainers save more money or make more money. We're helping them find leads even faster through our software and sell their content even better than at a standard gym. And on the services side, we're providing them with tons of support. So that's a decentralized gym model that allows us to make more money per square foot than the average gym at a higher margin than the standard gym as well.
Sure. Super interesting. And breaking it out that way, I think it is really helpful, the decentralized gym. One thing that you brought up that we hadn't touched on, I think a good segue is the real estate itself, right? So how are you making the determinations in terms of where you're picking these locations, how you're working with some of the developers or property owners, and ultimately going from identifying the location, the build out, to opening it up?
Mm-hmm. So we're looking for typically office space that's unused. Like, we really want, that space that's a little hidden, that's looking at a back alley that people typically wouldn't want to rent, or in the basement and so on. So that's really the type of property that we're scouting. In addition to that, obviously, we're looking at fundamental economics that will help support why that space would be useful or should be included in our portfolio. We'll look at, for example, the level of density in the area, the level of interest in fitness in that area. Is it close to a main subway line? So there's all these different factors that go into essentially our scorecard for spaces. Let's just say, this is going to be a good location to include in our portfolio. And then obviously we're working with landlords, because Silofit in and of itself is an amazing amenity for any building. As a landlord, especially in this world, in this post-pandemic world that we're going to be living in, where there's going to be so much office space available in the market, landlords will need an amenity to attract tenants back to the building. And I think Silofit is a huge opportunity for landlords to market to potential tenants that there is a gym in the building, that not only do we offer workout space, but in addition to that, we layer on trainers for the tenants to use and so on. So I think, coming out of this, we're going to be developing even more relationships with landlords, which we've already done. We've developed great relationships across Toronto and Montreal, and we're starting to do that out of New York, Boston, and Chicago. And that's really the plan for 2021, is to export this product into the US and start developing our footprint even further.
And thinking about all these pillars of the business, the decentralized gym model, how do you think about competition? I mean, obviously there are brick and mortar gyms that in some way are competition, but then there's also software, there's also education, there's also, digital and payments. So all these other things. Is there, a focus area that you say, like, this is who we're up against? Or is it just a matter of, like, as you carve out this space in the industry, it's almost going to be coming from all angles?
Absolutely. I think it's going to be coming from all angles. But I would say, the key to our product and which makes us rather unique is the fact that by focusing on real estate, which I think a lot of people are missing out on or have overlooked, especially given the digitization of fitness throughout the pandemic, that focus on real estate allows us to create these deeper relationships with trainers. And that's why we've had such a stickiness in our product. I remember the first customer that we allowed to go through our doors in January 2019. And that customer is still being with us today. And I think that's pretty unique that there's very few businesses that can say that customers that started with them 3 years ago are still around, So it's really developing that relationship with the trainer and likewise enhancing that relationship with the trainer and their client that offers such a unique opportunity for us to create that level of stickiness that in turn creates defensibility and a network effect in our product.
Sure. And then looking at all those things and thinking about how you build out all these different aspects of the business, is it pushback have you gotten the pushback? I'd be curious to hear, especially at an early stage, whether it's investors or partners or what have you, you need to focus, right? You need to focus on one thing. You need to get product market fit. You need to make sure that that thing can scale. Or is it, you're having the benefit and really a unique moment in time where, if you don't do all these things to some extent, you're kind of like missing an opportunity. How have you either addressed that and maybe even have you faced it, or am I just wildly speculating?
No, you're hitting the nail on the head. I'd say we've definitely gotten, a mix of that, but I think a majority of our investor support has come from the fact that we need to be touching upon all of these things to really build that defensibility and ecosystem that will tie in the trainer. It's interesting because, we're building so many different models that, it's definitely been a struggle trying to allocate resources in the right area. Sometimes you're doing it in terms of space build outs. And then all of a sudden, you're saying, okay, now I need to beef up the tech team. And then it could be, sales and marketing for the services side and customer support. So that's been a juggling act because, there's some great companies that focus on only the digital side and they only need to worry about hiring developers. On the flip side, I need to worry about hiring interior designers, also getting project managers on board, and building a brick and mortar business in and of itself is a huge undertaking. So it hasn't been a small feat by no means. So it's definitely been a challenge. But the great part is we've had incredible investors, incredible support in helping us build each legs of the business.
Sure. And certainly a lot to look forward to. And I know we've touched on a lot here today, but as we look to wrap up and, it's early in 2021 yet, recently, I think over the summer announced new funding, maybe even more recently, the demand has been strong and growing. What does that immediate roadmap look like? Call it the first quarter and into the summer. And then long term, what do we hope to accomplish this year?
So in the short term, we're going to be finalizing or cementing our footprint in Toronto, which has been an excellent market for us, especially with the fact that, it's the tightest office space market in North America. So we've demonstrated or proven out our ability to operate in that market and a high level of demand. So next up, as we're really standardizing this product, we're looking to export it to the US. So we're raising a Series A now and going to be opening 40 to 50 locations across 5 major US cities in the second and third quarter of this year. And just beyond excited to start bringing Silofit, developing the brand in the US and just helping trainers in all those different cities where I think this market is in need of a new product, and especially one like ours that will support them in their life cycle from starting out to just providing excellent service to their customers.
Yeah, and likewise, I'm excited to watch you guys continue to grow, and we'll actually get you out here on this. I think listeners are probably tuned in as well and wanting to follow along. So, what's the best way for them to keep up with everything you have going on?
Absolutely, following us on social media. So on Instagram, Silofit app. You can also follow us on LinkedIn, and feel free to contact me directly on LinkedIn. Always like to hear of different providers or suppliers and trainers and what they're looking for and what markets they'd like us to be in. So more than happy to chat with anyone out there.
That's awesome. We appreciate it. And Wilfred, listen, thanks for joining us and sharing the story. We're excited to see where you guys go from here.
Thanks so much, Joe. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks everyone for listening to today's episode. For more from Fit Insider, visit insider.fit.co and subscribe to our weekly newsletter for insights and analysis on the business of fitness and wellness. Then, go ahead and subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. See you next time.